After getting reincarnated in another world over some rumor from the internet, Shigeru becomes an almighty god after maxing out all his status. This story begins with Shigeru, who is ugly and mocked by everyone. One time, while boarding a train, a girl accused him of touching her even though he didn't. Because of his looks, they threw him out, and he was ordered by the court to pay a fine. He agreed, thinking it was easier than a long trial, but he thought wrong. As a result, he lost his job. After some years, the girl who accused him got arrested for false accusations. Because of the trauma, he couldn't live normally or approach people, so he became a shut-in. One night, while he was scrolling, he found a rumor about how to get to another world. He thought it was just a joke and laughed at it, but then he thought, why not? The condition was, at 2 a.m., face your computer north, open the window, raise both arms, and wait. When the time was 2 a.m., his computer got a notification that said, proceed to next screen to live a new life. Returning will cost half your life. He thought it was a virus, then clicked next. He saw his status and looks. He adjusted his look value to -155 and clicked next. He was given bonus points. He could get more if he wrote something on the special note. He started writing negative things like reducing earning, losing 10% HP if he touches a girl, and gaining 10,000 times experience. For doing that, he received 100 trillion points. While he was thinking about how to distribute them, time was up, his computer shut down, and he disappeared. When he opened his eyes, he was in another world. When he looked into a mirror, he was shocked, and there seemed to be others who had been reincarnated with him. He turned around and saw them in their underwear. One of the girls sneezed. The guy next to her gave her his shirt. When Shigeru saw that the other girl was cold too, he gave her his shirt, but after she looked at his face, she rejected him. They introduced themselves. The handsome guy's name was Seiji. The innocent-looking one didn't share her name, and the one who refused him was called Seika. He told them he was 16, but they told him he didn't look like one. Then Seiji asked them if they had come because of the rumor on the internet. They all said they did. Shigeru started to look around and found a drawer. When he opened it, he saw a coin. When he touched it, the coin disappeared. Then he remembered he reduced his earnings. Seiji asked him if he had found anything. Shigeru said nothing. Then he asked him for his name, and he told him it was Shigeru. After looking through the house, they found equipment. When Shigeru picked up a cloth, he thought it couldn't fit, but it fit perfectly, even for the others too. Then Seiji told them they could divide everything except coins, since there were only 7. Seiji thought Shigeru took it, but Shigeru told them he didn't need the money, and they could divide it among themselves. Seiji hesitated, but Seika said, let's split it because we are the ones who found the coins. Then Shigeru asked them in exchange to give him an axe, but they told him he couldn't have it. Seiji even made excuses not to give him. Then they decided to distribute the weapons by rock, paper, scissors. Shigeru was left with a staff. They shook hands, but Shigeru refused to avoid losing his 10% HP. Then they opened up a map and decided to go to the next town. When they opened the door to leave, they found a monster. Seiji quickly killed it. When they looked outside, there were more monsters. Seiji told Seika to string her bow and support, and Shigeru to protect her, and went to battle the monsters. They were defeating the monsters easily, but Seika couldn't string her bow. A monster attacked Shigeru from behind. When he tried to attack, it didn't deal any damage to the monster. Shigeru was shocked, but then remembered he didn't distribute his points because time was up. Then he killed the monster, and a status window appeared. He was level 31. He was shocked but realized his experience was 10,000 times. Then the others leveled up too. They put their points on strength and stamina, but Shigeru put trillion points in each. After he did that, some light appeared above him, and his status window malfunctioned, and his class changed to Almighty God. Then he saw a monster attacking him, but it did no damage. Curious about his strength, he flicked the monster in the head and sent it flying, creating a strong wind. Then he saw Seika still struggling with the string, while the others were killing the monsters. She started crying, and Shigeru couldn't watch anymore. He went to help her. She agreed and gave him the bow. He remembered a video he watched when he was a shut-in and strung her bow. As thanks, she gave him an arrow to take a shot. Then, he used a skill called Ultimate Strike and shot the arrow, but it was sent high. When Shigeru thought his accuracy was low, the arrow created a magic circle in the sky above the monsters. Then a golden dragon came out and killed all the monsters, shocking everyone. When Seika asked him, he answered her that he was in the archery club. Then another monster came, and Seiji asked Seika to assist them. She excitedly started firing arrows, but they all just flew away, not hitting any monsters. She got depressed. When she ran out of arrows, then Shigeru created new ones and gave her, but it was pointless. She just fired them away. Then they finished all the monsters and went to the next town. They got hungry and started looking for food. Suddenly, they found hamburgers. They were confused about how hamburgers were in another world, but they went in. Shigeru turned and went another way. He got hungry and sat to rest. Then a cat showed up. He was about to pet her, but stopped and thought, "Is she a female?" Then suddenly, Seika came out of nowhere and scared him. He fell into the water and got wet. When he was drying his clothes, Seika took out a big hamburger and gave it to him for helping her string her bow and the arrows. When he was taking it, he accidentally touched her. He felt pain, and his HP started to decrease. He got 58 trillion damage, equal to the power to destroy a planet. But Seika started crying, saying, "I brought it to you, but you threw it away." He apologized and told her he would eat it. She refused and gave him another one, but he asked her, "Isn't that yours?" She replied, "I'm rich, I could get another." She accepted it, and while eating, he said to himself he would stay with her to pay her back for this. The others came, and they started their journey.
In the bustling town, Seika dragged Shigeru into an armory shop, her eyes gleaming as she purchased a hefty stockpile of arrows. Shigeru watched in awe, knowing he could produce arrows with his skill, but when Seika teased him about not buying any, she quickly remembered his empty pockets and laughed it off. Soon, their companions rejoined them, announcing they'd found an inn. Shigeru, stubborn as ever, insisted he'd rather sleep in the park, but Seika grabbed his collar, declaring she'd cover his stay, pulling him along with no harm done to his tattered clothes. At the inn, while the girls showered, Shigeru sat alone, his mind racing with thoughts of making money. He opened his status window, scrolling through his skills to find one that could turn a profit. The next morning, he surprised everyone by bringing food to the table. When asked how he managed it, he quipped about slaving away, though in truth, he'd bartered his conjured arrows for goods. Grateful, the group thanked him, and Shigeru muttered to himself that he'd repaid his debt to Seika. Eager for coin, as monsters dropped none, they decided to venture to a nearby cave for their next quest. On their way, a stranger approached, offering to guide them through the cave. Introducing himself as Kayashiro, a fellow reincarnated soul, he handed them a one-time discount item and pitched his services as a guide for new reincarnates. Shigeru, ever wary, left the decision to Seiji, who haggled and hired Kayashiro for 120 riras a day. Kayashiro equipped them and led the way. As they traveled, they encountered monsters. Seika, firing arrows with her usual gusto, missed her shots until Kayashiro offered her pointers, turning her aim deadly accurate. The others joined the hunt, and during a break, they trained under Kayashiro's guidance. He turned to Shigeru, asking if he'd join, but Shigeru dismissed his staff skill as useless. Kayashiro countered that its final ability was extraordinary, though Shigeru recalled a warning from his status window: using it against a giant orc would devastate a 200-kilometer radius, potentially wiping out everything from Saitama Prefecture to the Pacific Ocean. He'd cancelled it then, wary of its power. Kayashiro urged him to fight actively, warning he'd end up retired like himself. Curious, Shigeru asked why Kayashiro retired. The guide revealed he'd been part of a mercenary group but quit, unable to keep up, especially after his leader became a king with a level of 80 and an average stat of 160. Shigeru muttered that 3-digit stats were weak, but Kayashiro, misinterpreting, apologized for overwhelming him and encouraged perseverance. They reached the cave, an ancient ruin glowing with eerie beauty. Seika, trembling like a child, hesitated at the entrance but grew excited inside, only to revert to childish fear when Kayashiro warned her to stay alert. Seiji, intrigued, asked her real-world age. Stammering, Seika admitted she was 17, not 16, while Seiji revealed he was 30. They pressed deeper, battling monsters under Kayashiro's navigation until they reached a grand door. Seika, eager, rushed forward but froze when Kayashiro asked her level. At level 3, she was no match for the boss beyond, and terrified, she hid behind the others. Seiji suggested they call it a day, thanking Kayashiro, who praised his leadership and led them to a special event, a safe room impervious to monsters or magic, crafted by another reincarnate. Inside, Saika marveled at a table of snacks, but Shigeru's status window flashed a warning. The bottle Kayashiro offered contained sleeping gas. Shigeru, immune to it, muttered about the poison but stayed silent. Seiji declined the drink, wanting to return to town before sunset, and Shigeru muttered approval of his caution. Kayashiro, disappointed, suggested celebrating in the village instead. Seiji removed his helmet, apologizing for doubting Kayashiro's generosity. Kayashiro offered him the drink, and he accepted it. Seiji began to blame himself for suspecting such kindness, while Saika gleefully asked for seconds. Shigeru, wary of the gas's glow revealing his antidote magic, stalled with conversation, asking about their past lives. The group fell silent, shocked, and Saika called his name sadly. Shigeru apologized for his misstep, and Seiji shared his story. Fed up with school, he left home, started a successful company, but was misled by a salesman, Shigeru, it turned out, who advised him to relax. Following this, his company thrived, but an AI project led to its bankruptcy and his mental breakdown, prompting his arrival in this world with a vow not to fail again. He asked Shigeru's last name, but Shigeru lied, saying Sasaki. They all fell asleep, but Shigeru stayed awake, noticing Kayashiro and his group chaining them up. Shigeru confronted about his past, but before he could act, Seiji awoke, warning the captors not to touch them. Kayashiro mocked Seiji's defiance, saying it was all he could do. Shigeru muttered about Seiji getting caught in his attack. Seiji fought free but was overpowered. Kayashiro revealed this world was for losers and called them naive, ordering their capture. Shigeru leaped up, using his pig jump skill to crash into the enemies, urging Seiji to leave it to him. Seiji refused to abandon his friend, declaring he could defeat the gang with one hit. Kayashiro scoffed, ordering his men to take Shigeru first, but Shigeru's unharmed resilience stunned them. Kayashiro threatened Seiji to surrender, but Shigeru attacked, silencing him. Seiji, glowing with power, chanted an oath to protect his friends, a power fueled by anger. Kayashiro ignored his warning, attacking, but Shigeru shielded Seiji, urging him to show their strength. Seiji completed his chant, transforming into the indomitable hero Aldine, ready to face the foes.